I'm Stephen Benoon, and you're watching Israeli News Live. You see there, even in the photos here, you're seeing how what they're doing is they're going to take and internationalize Jerusalem. On Highway 1 that comes up from Tel Aviv, they're putting these giant arches up on the highway there, and you see the harness wires coming out where there'll be another guard checkpoint. The tunnels, they're not under a mountain. The mountains are off to each side, but yet they're making a checkpoint. Now, for those of you that have never been to Israel, you may not quite understand why this is alarming to me. But the reason it's alarming is because Tel Aviv to Jerusalem has always been Israel. I mean, 1948, no, but since 1967, when Israel recaptured back the land that God had given Israel, that became Israel. And so there was no need for a checkpoint. So if they're putting a checkpoint in, it's not coming from the West Bank. Obviously, the Jews that are living in Tel Aviv are going to have to go through a checkpoint, which clearly shows that either they're going to give Jerusalem to the Palestinians, or it's going to become an international city under Palestinian control, which clearly in Micah chapter 4, down there near around verse 10 or so, it says that they will be taken out of the city and will dwell in the fields. So it is a biblical prophecy that the Jews will be uprooted from Jerusalem. These things are very alarming, very concerning to me, and no doubt to many others. I know Brother Begley and his wife and the group that was with us there, they were amazed to hear this, that they just did not know it. And then on top of it today, Mahmoud Abbas in Rome with the Pope of Rome, the Pope of Rome turns around and calls him the Angel of Peace. The Pope of Rome calling Mahmoud Abbas the Angel of Peace. What is wrong with the Pope of Rome? I mean, for one, it's obvious to me. We already know his identity. We see him in the scriptures. We know that he is the prince that shall come. He is that Antichristo. We know that. We see it clearly written in the Bible about him. But to call Mahmoud Abbas the Angel of Peace, you know, maybe the Angel of Death would be a better title. Did he forget on October 28th, he incited another intifada? He cried out for an intifada of his people. And clearly, you can see as you're watching the screen, look at the video image. You're seeing the subtitles there from his own speech where he is saying that to the Palestinian people, which not really Palestinians, but you understand, I mean, they're the Arabic people that are living in Israel, and they are the occupiers. It's not the Israelis that are the occupiers, it's the Arab people that are the occupiers. God gave them a land. God gave them a lot more land than he ever gave the Jewish people. But the Jewish people have come home. And God has given us this land. And he said we would come home. And I guess as it was in the days of Moses, the days of Joshua, we're going to have to fight to take that back. All right? So anyway, he is saying in this footage that they are to, by all means necessary, even to bare their chests, to keep, and he calls, I believe, calls the Jews infidels, off of the Temple Mount, out of the Al-Aqsa Mosque, and even the Holy Sepulchre. A Muslim saying it's our church, it is our mosque. You know, that only goes to show that Rome created the Muslim religion. Muhammad was nothing but a puppet of the Vatican, created by Rome, trained by the Jesuit. Kaji, his wife, was a Catholic nun, a very wealthy nun that he married, and then got duped into making a religion out of it. And I feel for the Arabic people, I really do, because they've been duped by the Vatican. No wonder why the Vatican is called the mother of harlots. It is a shame and a disgrace to begin with. And I'm just concerned because I know it's prophecy. I know Israel's going to be divided according to prophecy of Joel chapter 3, verses 1, 2, and 3. I know this is all prophetic. It's going to happen, but I will be a voice to speak against it. And because the Jewish people, we have a right to our own homeland, and we know it's going to happen. But remember, even though they divide the land, then God will bring all the nations down. Because right now, Brother Begley was telling me 136 nations have already agreed to sign on for the two-state solution. So when it goes before the UN Council for the resolution, huge majority. And the 5 voting members, 4 have already stated they will not veto it whatsoever. President Barack Obama is not saying anything, but clearly he said just recently that he would not veto it either. So it's going to pass. It's going to force Israel to a point that they will have to either do it or what? That mark of the beast. You can't buy or sell, saving you take that mark. He's going to put it on Israel. See, they're not going to be able to buy or sell. They've already tried to do sanctions with Israel just recently over the West Bank. And so now they're going to force Israel. You're either going to do what we say or we're not doing business with you. I hope Benjamin Netanyahu has the guts to stand there in the face of the Pope of Rome and say, no, sir, we're not going to do it. That would be so much better. But you know what? Then this may be where the war will come in. This may be where they incite Hamas. They incite Hezbollah. They incite the Syrians, the Iranians, to push the Syrians to bring a war in, to force the people to accept another border because we get pushed back. God said he would be silent for a little bit in Psalm 83 because they're crying out, oh God, keep thou not silent. See, keep thou not silent. Okay, because they lifted up their head, Esau has, which Romans are identified as Esau in the book of Obadiah. Keep thou not silent, O God. See, because why? The Esau and those that have made a confederacy with him have lifted up their head, and the Pope of Rome is that head that they've lifted up. And you wonder about the deadly wound and being healed. Have you ever thought about the fact that when the Vatican first began many, many years ago, 325 AD, finally after so many hundreds of years there, then the Vatican was nearly destroyed, nearly totally wiped out, almost completely obliterated. But then they came back. They finally came back, and when they did, they got strong again. Now, why would I call that a head wound? Because why? The Vatican believes that they're the head of both political, temporal power, and spiritual power. They consider themselves the head. They consider themselves the leader, the authority of the entire world. All right, so when the Catholic Church nearly died, the head, the leading church, the church that birthed out all the other denominations, it nearly died. The head was wounded, but it came back. And they have come back from the dead, so to speak, and they've risen to power. And they're trying, and by the way, too, this is why you see the Romans getting more and more control in Israel. Why? Because when Yeshua was here 2,000 years ago, don't forget, when Yeshua was here 2,000 years ago, the Romans were in control. Even the apostles, they wanted to be delivered from the hands of the Romans. Did they not? That's exactly what they wanted. Deliver us from the hands of the Romans. But then when he died, they were very disappointed because they thought that he'd come to deliver them. Well, he read Isaiah 61, verse 1 and verse 2, only half of verse 2, where he came for the acceptable year to set the captives free. He did exactly that. But you know what? The other half of verse 2 is to bring judgment, is to bring that vengeance and everything. So see, in verse 1 and first half of verse 2, he was only coming as the peacemaker. That was Christ then. See, but now he comes for vengeance. What? Rome has to get back in control again. That's why you see this move. And when Rome is in control again, Yeshua returns, and this time he will deliver the Jews from the hands of the Romans. So the stage has to be reset. And now the Pope, the Antichristo, he's trying to pretend like he's the Prince of Peace now of Isaiah 9:6. He's the Counselor, Prince of Peace, the mighty God, the everlasting Father. He's trying to be that one. And he's trying to act out Isaiah 61, but it's not going to work. It is not. Watch what you're seeing. Look as you're going. They're trying to internationalize Jerusalem. It is a shame. It is appalling. I'm Stephen Ben-Nun with Israel.